Evan kept the television on because his apartment sounded too large without it. He moved in 3 weeks earlier, after the separation, bringing what he could fit into a rented van and leaving most of the furniture with Claire. His new place had hardwood floors, cheap white blinds, and a living room shaped like a shoebox. Voices from the television softened the emptiness. He rarely watched. Instead, he cooked, while game shows played, folded laundry through weather reports, fell asleep to reruns with the volume low enough that dialogue became a murmur. The captions were Claire's fault. She turned them on years ago because she hated missing lines while eating. Evan had complained at first, then eventually stopped noticing them. When he bought the new television, he enabled them almost instinctively. On Thursday night, he was standing at the kitchen counter, cutting an onion, when he noticed a caption that didn't belong. The television was showing a home renovation program. A contractor was explaining why somebody's bathroom wall had rotten. Then, beneath him, the captions read, "Dog barking outside." Evan glanced towards his window. Nothing. The contractor kept talking. 10 seconds later, a dog barked somewhere in the courtyard. Evan looked back at the television, but the caption had disappeared. He smiled. Delayed captions, nothing unusual. Streaming applications screwed up subtitles constantly. He finished dinner, then, the next evening, it happened again. He was brushing his teeth while an old sitcom was playing in his bedroom. From the doorway he saw, "Glass breaks." But no glass broke on the show. Evan waited. The actors continued arguing about a wedding. He spat into the sink, rinsed his mouth, and was reaching for the towel when something shattered outside. A woman's voice rose from the parking lot. "Oh, damn it." Evan went to the window. A grocery bag had split beside a blue sedan. A jar lay broken on the asphalt. He stayed there longer than necessary. When he looked at the television again, the captions matched the dialogue. Saturday passed normally. Evan met his brother for lunch, bought groceries, cleaned the apartment, and spent an hour trying to repair a loose handle on the bedroom closet. By evening, the strange captions had become one of those minor things that seemed less convincing in the daylight. He ordered Chinese food and watched a baseball game. During the 6th inning, words appeared beneath the pitcher. "3 knocks at door." Evan looked toward the entryway. His delivery had arrived 20 minutes earlier, so it couldn't be that. He waited, but nothing. The pitcher threw a strike. Evan leaned back. Then came 3 knocks. Not loud, 3 ordinary knocks. He stood. Through the peephole, the hallway was empty. He opened the door anyway, but nobody was there. The corridor stretched 20 feet in either direction, ending at the stairwell on one side and the elevator on the other. There wasn't anywhere to hide without making noise. Evan checked the floor. No package. He closed the door, and the television showed. Crowd cheering. The stadium crowd erupted. That one belonged. Evan picked up the remote. He went into the accessibility settings and turned captions off. For the rest of the night, nothing happened. The apartment felt better without words crawling across the bottom of the screen. On Sunday morning, Evan turned the television on while making coffee. No captions. A local news anchor discussed highway construction. Evan opened the refrigerator. Behind him, the television displayed, "Refrigerator door closes." He froze with his hand on the milk. The captions were back. He checked the settings. Closed captioning was off. Evan turned the television off. The screen went black. He stood in the kitchen listening to the compressor hum. Then he closed the refrigerator door. Nothing happened. He laughed once, quietly. Okay. He unplugged the television. That afternoon, he drove to an electronics store and bought a cheap streaming stick. His reasoning was embarrassingly simple. Software problem. Factory reset the television, bypass its internal apps, start over. He spent 40 minutes reinstalling everything. At 7:16 p.m., he turned on a documentary about deep-sea fishing. No captions. He watched for almost 15 minutes before allowing himself to relax. Then, white letters appeared at the bottom of the screen. Water running in bathroom. Evan quickly stared down the hallway. The bathroom door stood open. No water. He waited. A minute passed. Then 2. The fisherman on screen hauled a net across the deck. Evan got up and walked into the bathroom. The sink was dry, as was the tub. He even touched the faucet. Dry. The television continued playing in the living room. He returned, and the caption remained, "Water running in bathroom." Evan picked up the remote and muted the television. The moment the sound disappeared, water began running down the hall. He turned, and somehow the bathroom faucet was on. Not dripping, it was running fully. Evan walked toward it slowly. He shut it off, and back in the living room, the caption was gone. For the first time, he noticed what all 4 incidents had shared: the dog, the broken jar, the knocking, and then the faucet. Each caption had appeared before the sound, but the sound only happened when Evan wasn't hearing anything from the television. He decided to test it, and he felt ridiculous in doing so, which helped. At 8:02 p.m., another caption appeared during the documentary: "Car alarm outside." Evan kept the volume on this time. 10 minutes passed, nothing. He opened a beer. 20 minutes, still nothing. At 8:31, the program ended. Evan muted the television. And suddenly, a car alarm began outside immediately. He unmuted it. The alarm stopped. He muted it again. The alarm resumed from the exact point where it had cut off, completing the same pulsing sequence. Evan stood with the remote in his hand. He pressed volume up. Silence outside. Mute, alarm, volume, silence. He repeated it 6 times. On the 7th, he left the television muted. The alarm continued for 34 seconds and stopped. The caption vanished. Evan chose not to sleep in his apartment that night. He drove to a 24-hour diner and sat in a booth until sunrise, drinking bad coffee beneath fluorescent lights while a waitress refilled his cup without asking. By 6 in the morning, the whole thing had begun to feel manageable. The television caused it, or triggered it, whatever it was. And so the solution was equally simple: get rid of the television. At 7:30, he carried it downstairs and put it in the trunk. He drove to a recycling center across town and left it there. For 2 days, nothing happened. The apartment returned to its normal noises: pipes, neighbors, the elevator's tired mechanical groan. Evan slept better Tuesday night than he had since moving in. Wednesday evening, he called Claire. They spoke for 20 minutes about paperwork and the remaining boxes at the house. It was civil, almost pleasant. Afterward, Evan made pasta and ate at the kitchen counter while watching a video on his phone. Halfway through, captions appeared, but he had not enabled them. They read, "Footsteps in hallway." Evan immediately stopped chewing. The video continued. He raised the volume. Nothing outside. He turned the phone sideways and checked the settings. Captions were disabled, but the words remained. He did not mute the phone. For 40 minutes, he carried it from room to room while some man on the internet repaired an antique clock. The caption stayed, "Footsteps in hallway." At 9:14 p.m., the video ended. For perhaps half a second between one video and the next, the phone went silent. A footstep suddenly sounded outside of the apartment. Then the next video autoplayed. Footstep stopped. Evan stared at the front door. He disabled autoplay, then immediately re-enabled it. He understood now. The captions weren't predicting sounds. They were waiting for silence. He plugged the phone into the charger and started a 10-hour video of rainfall, volume at maximum. He fell asleep on the couch. At 3:47 in the morning, Evan woke. The rain video was still playing. He checked the screen. A new caption had appeared over the artificial storm. "Breathing near bedroom door." Evan looked down the hallway. Dark. The bedroom doorway was 20 feet away. He increased the volume until the simulated rain filled the apartment. The caption remained. At dawn, it changed. "Breathing beside couch." Evan did not move for several seconds. The phone continued hissing rain from the coffee table. He picked it up carefully, but the caption disappeared. For most of Thursday, he kept something playing. Music while showering, podcasts in the car, videos at work through one earbud, even though his manager told him twice to remove it. And nothing happened. That evening, while heating soup, Evan caught himself looking at the phone every few minutes. No captions. He began to believe he had found the rule's limit. Just keep playing sound. Never give it silence. At 11:20 p.m., he set the rain video running again and placed the phone on his nightstand. The caption appeared almost immediately.
Evan says, "Who's there?"
He stared at it, confused. He hadn't spoken. The rain continued. The words stayed. Evan sat on the edge of his bed. For nearly an hour, he kept the phone playing. At 12:17, the charger cable slipped loose. The phone displayed 5%, so he plugged it back in, but nothing. 4%. He removed the cable and tried another outlet. 3. The phone wouldn't charge. Evan opened the settings menu. Battery health read normal. 2%. The caption still read,
Evan says, "Who's there?"
He grabbed his keys and headed for the door. 1%. He opened it. The hallway lights were on. Television noise leaked from 3B. The elevator waited at the far end. Evan stepped outside. The phone died. Silence. From inside his apartment came a soft sound beside the bed. Not footsteps. Not breathing. Something was shifting its weight. Evan stood in the hallway, staring through the open door into the dark bedroom. Then, from directly behind him, his own voice whispered,
"Who's there?"
Evan did not turn around. Across the hallway, Mrs. Alvarez's television went silent, and a moment later, white captions appeared across its screen.